is posted, which they have submitted.
Okay. All right. That's a little bit more information
Sorry.
than we had.
I just got it.
It came out for something to say.
Council satisfied with that resolution description, Lou? Rich? Yeah. Jason? Yes. Okay. All right then. So now we have public questions on resolutions. Please state your name and address for the record. Public comment during this portion is limited to questions on below resolutions only. All right.
It's fine.
I'm going to open this up to the public. My right, your left, first row. Resolutions only, second row. Third row. The right, the wall. My left, your right, first row.
My name's Bruce Hubbard. I got two comments, 2 and 7.
Say again?
2 and 7. 2 and 7.
HVAC resolution.
Oh, 2, okay.
Oh,
You're using the actual agenda number.
Oh, okay. Resolution 2013-77.
You want me to respond to that?
Yes, please.
After a couple of the floods we had some testing done. There was mold in all the air conditioning ducts. It was ripped out, it was all remediated, but we had to go and get it replaced. We had holes in the walls, holes in the floors, and we're still waiting on the determination from our insurance company. So they're replacing the ductwork on the second, third floor.
Just with this building?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, it's 7.
The second question that for the air conditioning, you could salvage some parts for, recycle and stuff, like scrap it?
Not with the mold and everything like that. It was sealed and carted away. I don't know exactly what they do with it, but guys with suits took it away.
Oh, okay. Number 2, 2013-82. You could have 5 more.
Say again?
What this is the tax sale certificate. Somebody needed a duplicate.
It's a copy. It's a copy of the document.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Copy of the document. Okay, you're welcome, Lou. Anyone else in that row? Resolutions? Next row? The next row? The back row? Left wall. Okay, seeing no other comments or questions on the resolutions, I'll close it to the public and bring it to the council. How about a consent agenda on this?
I'm okay with it.
All right, all right. Lou, Dwayne, consent agenda?
Yeah, we can include the reports if you don't mind.
All right, you guys good for the reports as well? All right, okay, we'll do a consent agenda to cover Resolution 2013-76, 2013-77, 2013-78, 2013-79, 2013-80, 2013-81, 2013-82, 2013-83, the added 2013-84, and the approval of the department head reports.
including the treasurer's report?
You guys want to include the treasurer's report, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. All yeses.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
as best as.
so yes. All right, so, we had no discussion. Do I have action on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as stated by you.
Do I have a second?
I'll second. Mr. Belton, second.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Mr. Belton?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. DeFalco?
Yes.
Mr. Dow?
Yes. All right. Old business. Dwayne, any old business?
No, not tonight.
Jason?
No.
Lou? Rich?
None, thank you.
All right. Fortunately, guys, I do have a couple of things. Hopefully they'll go quick here. Live where you work, status?
Well, I want to set it up for a work session. I'd like to know when, because I'm going to need some lead time because I have to get the realtors involved. So, I don't know what your pleasure is on that. I know the 6th we're going to be, in May, we're going to be kind of booked after what we discussed in executive.
Yeah, probably the summertime at this point, huh? Like July or August.
Well, we'll have to see.
Can I make a recommendation?
Go ahead, what do you
Perhaps
got?
we reach out to Mark Remzo at the county, okay? He's spearheading that at the county level, and it might make sense to coordinate that in conjunction with the township, being that they are in the township and the county seat, and the buildings are here. If they're launching a countywide the We Work campaign, we might as well hop on that bandwagon and spearhead it locally.
I think that's a good idea. The rest of you guys?
Yeah, and if, I mean, Chief, if we're gonna reach out to realtors, can we reach out, to the major employers as well? The
Absolutely,
hospital,
yeah.
the county, those folks that, they're major employers in town?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's the status on that then. Truck ordinance.
We actually, I talked to East Hampton, and we've actually had some good communications. They want to look at one of the things I proposed, and I'm hoping to have a meeting with them again in the next couple of weeks. I have a couple of issues going on with them right now, but they're open to, do what we initially said. There was a question they had to take back to look at, but we're moving forward with it.
All right. RVTV is here. Solar ordinance. What are we looking at with the solar ordinance, George?
Gotta take some more time. I'd say hopefully probably June. June would be sufficient. Get back to you on that report.
Yeah, your email was saying months down the road, but
That's a little bit of time.
maybe June, okay. We'll probably have to do another work session on that, you think? To kick it around once we get some kind of idea, or?
Absolutely. I think
Because it's gotta go, then it's gotta go to planning board. Planning board wanted to do something, I thought, this month with it, but, obviously that's not happening. So the planning board needs us to move first, right?
Yeah.
Right. Impact fees, you were looking into that.
Gavin, I think that's something you should pick a date and we'll be ready to roll with that, I'd say. I wouldn't put it on in May just because of the other meetings, but we'll put it on in June. Again, for either workshop or executive session.
Well, I'd like to see it at a workshop first, so that we can at least know what we're looking at, because, I just know there's impact fees, to tell you the truth, so I don't know what you're gonna come back with
Yeah,
that from.
that's-
Okay, so,
Right.
I didn't wanna, create a...
Are we gonna get a list of what impact fees?
Right, that's
you're
what I mean,
talking
that's
about?
what we'll do, that's,
It'll be a generalized discussion.
Right,
It's
yeah,
other
right.
terminology
So we'll do-
than just the impact fees.
right, so we can pick a date work session for that in the future. But you're ready to go, once
Give me
we...
a little lead time, so I'm bringing in my associate who's done a lot of work on that.
All right. So you actually have a pro on that one, all right. How's the status of the 5% request from the MUA that we voted to send over there?
I spoke to Mr. Rizzuto today and on another matter with the West End, and he had inquired as to when you want him to stop in again, and obviously tonight I knew we were booked up. I mean, I can have him come in at 6th if you want.
Well, that's a big piece of when we're talking about the budget, but the 6th, those things are...
Well, yeah, but he needs to talk about contracts, he needs to come in the executive session.
Right.
So, and I can't imagine.
Do you think we can realistically fit that into an executive session with that other piece being as big as it is? All
Well, then the next meeting, I can push him down the road.
right, so he's ready to come in to talk to us.
Yeah,
We just have to
absolutely.
figure it. Ready to come in. All right. All right. Well, that was the easy stuff. The last piece here, I wanted to talk about was interviews. Right? The previous council, what we thought at the time, and I still think, was the way to go, was to do interviews for any of the boards or committees that we were appointing to. Right? That was kicked around in public session left and right. I had a big issue with the past councilman, Mr. Gibson, about it, and it's a matter of record that this council was, for the last almost 3 years that Dwayne and I have been on this council, not appointing without doing interviews, with the exception of people that have already been interviewed already by a majority of the council, and people that are known, in other words, a council member that would be appointed to a board or a committee. Now, since while I was away, appointments were made, and I really don't want to go back and forth because it's already done there. But going forward, what exactly is, what exactly, do we want to do with that? Do interviews or not? I had received a text message from one council member that interviews were, was where he wanted to go, and another council member told me when I was talking to him that he preferred to interview everyone and anyone that came forward. So, and I would have been the third vote. So right there, I would have thought that no positions would be appointed without interviews. And again, it has been past practice for nearly 3 years that we did not appoint without interviews. And we've kicked it around here. It was in the papers. We kicked it around so much. So, I would just like to know what is the will of this council as far as this appointment process goes. Because come June, we will have more appointments to make. If people resign, we'll have more appointments to make. What are we doing with this? Dwayne?
Well, I was surprised that we appointed myself, so you're asking the wrong person.
Well, what do you feel about it? Do you want interviews?
I don't know how you put people on boards and in positions that actually mean something to this town without knowing who they are. So that evening, I was introduced to a couple of people in this town that I never met before that are now on my planning board and on other boards that really mean something in this community. Every board that we have in this community means something, or we wouldn't have that board. So the people that are on those boards should be people that, one, I know as a council member, and I thought I knew quite a few people in town. No, not out of respect, but out of...
I said at least met, because at this point...
At least met,
At this point, I'm coming across people that I don't even know who they are. And they on the board.
So I don't know how anybody else can effectively appoint them to a board without knowing who the candidates were that could take those positions.
So I'm looking for policy here, I guess, and if this would mean, George, a resolution for this to be policy, or is this something that we can just agree on and it's a binding agreement? Jason, what's I thought we're interested in interviews, so what for policy point of view, what are you thinking?
My thought is that I will always put the best person that I believe to be on any board that will help this community, regardless.
Well, the question is, as far as the policy, what's your thoughts on the interview policy, the interview process? Do we interview as a matter of policy or not?
I would not have objection to doing interviews if that's what this council looks to do from here on out.
What's your position? Do we interview for these things so that all the council know, the individual and have an opportunity to meet them as a policy, or do we not?
If we interview, we absolutely interview the best qualified person that's going to be qualified to do that job. And if you want to go that route, we can.
With that being said, are we going to interview every single candidate that puts in, or are we just going to hand choose a select few, which have been done in the past?
What's the will?
And I mean, I know from previous experience,
I've always pushed for everybody
there was
to be
people that were called up the same day to say, oh, you have an interview today at 3 o'clock and it's 1:30. So, I mean, if you're going to do this, we have to...
I would like, my opinion on it is, it has been and always will be, if you apply for it, I will bring your name up and I would like to interview you. And anyone that has been through the appointment process with me, Dwayne would be that one, he knows that I've adamantly fought to have every single individual interviewed. And in the past, quite frankly, it has gone to there's 11 people that are put in, and the council picked 2. Which 2 do you want to interview? So, similar to the process that we used for hiring. Now, it's up to us. Do we want to go full with, we would pick 2, or do we want to interview everyone? But for a starting point, do we do interviews as policy before we appoint to, you know, board positions, committee positions, because that's the starting point. So is that Rich, you haven't spoken on it, let's get to the consensus if we're gonna do interviews, and then we can kick around what you're talking about.
Now, with that being said, with the board, with your mayor designee's position, would that be a part that we would all interview and help you weigh in on that option, or do you just get to choose who you want, even if we may not know that person?
Well, you can, I would have no problem with honoring the request that anyone that I appoint, you can interview, absolutely no problem at all.
But you already appointed them, so we would interview them after you appointed them.
No,
Well, I'm just saying that's a major part of the board that you're...
I wouldn't have a problem with that, you know, I mean, it's still my decision, you know, the mayor, whoever is sitting in this chair's decision, not just mine, you know, obviously it changes. But the fact of the matter is that I listen to you guys with whatever input you give, period, you know, if you would, you know, I'll give you my word right here that I won't appoint anyone without throwing it out there. And if you guys want to, you know, if you don't know him or her already, you know, certainly I have absolutely no, there's nothing there, you know, so no problems. But, you know, it's still a mere appointment.
No, I understand. I'm just saying
no problem whatsoever. You know, I'll say, hey, I'm looking to put this person in. You guys want to, you know, talk to this person, meet this person, tell me what you think about them. Absolutely nothing there. There's no pushback there at all. All right, I have no problem with that. And the more input I get from the four of you, the better I am. You know, I mean, and residents too. That's what this, you know, all this interaction with the public is about. You know, we learn from these folks what, you know, their positions are and their opinions. And I know it affects me. I'm sure, you know, I can't speak for you, but you know, I would think that affects this entire governing body, you know, what the folks' opinion is, you know. So to answer your question, I have, you know, I'm saying right here and now, you know, that I will pass you guys that I'm thinking of this person to put in if I'm not going to sit there, and if you want to interview them, or, you know, give me feedback that you know already, go ahead, because you know what, you know, no one knows everything, you know, so certainly, you know, I'm open to that. Now, going back to the interview process, though,
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On the mayor's interview, I mean, will you be already appointing this person before we get the chance to ask questions, or?
No, that really wouldn't be the intent of, I mean, that would just be a waste of time now, wouldn't it? No, the idea, you know, the idea would be for you guys to let me know if you have an objection and why, you know, and if that objection is credible, you know, I would be an idiot not to weigh it in, and I would, you know, openly discuss the other, you know, if I had other information or whatever, you know, but no doubt, you know, I'm 100%, you know, open to what you guys' opinions are, you know, on anyone that's on this board. And likewise, I would think that you would be open to my opinions and my opinion. And the fact is that, you know, I don't even know I don't even know what some of these folks look like, much less who they are, what they are, as far as their positions go, you know, what they do.
What positions are you talking about?
The rec committee, I don't know any of the rec committee members.
Do you believe in the members that such as me and Mr. Jones, and what we have brought forth? Do you trust us?
As I trust you, and I would respect the same. I would expect the same that you just asked from me. That, you know, even when there's a trust, you know, there's trust between the two of us. You may not know everything that you think you know about a person, or, you know, I may have something else.
Absolutely right.
Okay, you just made my argument for me with what you guys have been saying, because the fact of the matter is that appointments were just made. That I don't know who these folks are, you know, and I'm not saying that I wouldn't have voted for them. I've been down this road before, where the previous council appointed a couple of cats to the planning board and to the MUA. And the fact of the matter is that I would have voted for them guys, you know, and just given a chance to meet them, interview them, and, you know, and weigh in, you know, and that's where I'm coming from. Just as I just gave my word, and my word is good, that I will let you guys know any mayor appointment that I would be thinking of, and have a shot at it, and, you know, take a look at it, and take the input, you know, so.
From this point forward.
Right, yeah, right here now, right, from this minute,
You
for this
did make,
second.
well, I'm just saying, previously, this year, you have made appointments
Sure,
from mayor.
I made-
That was
right.
your decision, and your decision alone, with no weigh-in from council.
That's true. I made one appointment outside of this council, but to be fair, that was an individual that you all definitely knew. You knew what, you know, you knew his name, you knew his face, you knew,
But
you
you knew
knew
him.
him. I don't know these people. I wouldn't know
I'm
that
just
person
going
if they
back
walked
on
in that door right
what you
now.
just said. You know a person,
Right?
but you may not really know a person.
Okay, and I take that, and that's fine, all right? But I'm going even further to say...
No offense to-
You know, I'm going even further to say, in the case that I'm referring to, I didn't know these bodies, or these faces even, you know? And it's a little embarrassing to be in a room talking to somebody and find out that they're on a board, and you didn't even know it. Now, that hasn't happened, but what has happened is a name has come up, and I find out in that same sentence that that person is on a board. And how the hell, you know, and nothing went out. I have no idea, you know, of it, much less did I meet the person, did I interview the person, you know, that kind of thing. So, again, we're going to, you know, I'm trying to discuss policy here, a policy that had been established, that, you know, I want to reestablish by vote, so that, you know, we can all five of us weigh in on whoever we're appointing to anything, at least be able to interview a person and talk to them. So, is there a consensus that we will have a policy of interviewing for appointments?
I would like to discuss this in the executive session, please.
In executive session?
Yes.
Is this something that can be discussed in an executive session? There's rules of what can.
Involved, you know, personnel contracts, a lot of different things. Sure.
Personal contracts, even though there are certain appointments. Okay.
But, you know, I just indicate, you know, I'm not sure how much time council wants to spend interviewing people. We're talking about a lot of appointments.
Sure.
I've never seen this. I can just indicate.
Well, let me
I'm not
tell you,
aware.
by the response that we get, there aren't that many people that we've had to interview in the past.
Well, I could just indicate, I'm not aware of any other municipality having a policy in place to review appointments to rec committees, planning boards, MUA, things like that.
You can check the minutes, and this council had that policy in place for 2.5 years.
You're talking about a lot of
All right,
potential.
I understand that. But in the past, when a question was asked, can we just appoint anyone we want? The mayor said, since Dwayne and Rich were appointed, we have gone to a policy of interviewing, and if they haven't been interviewed, we're not just gonna let you pick a name out and shoot it out there. That actually was violated in that one
Can I just
meeting.
interrupt you for a second? Because there's been a lot of back and forth, and about 6 times you asked me to give you my comment on this. So I'd like for the record to everyone know what my comment is on this topic. Short, 3 simple things. 1, yes, I firmly believe in interviews. I think that we should do that. But with the caveat, like George says, there is a time that's needed to do this. And if you're talking about all 5 of us trying to coordinate during a normal business day to get together to interview these people, or have Dwayne and you do it one day, and me and you do it one day, and Jason do it some other day, it's just going to be very complicated. And I think, you know, at that point, maybe we start, you know, having some faith, like with the Recreation Committee, where we have certain subcommittee members that they do the interviews and they report back to us if you want the open communication aspect and that nature. But I don't think there needs to be necessarily a 5-member interview board for all the applicants. And finally, at the end, no matter regulation or policy that we put into place will make any difference up at this table if the day of 3 individuals up here want to throw someone else's name on the table. No amount of interviews, no amount of policies will make that change. I think that's where George was going to go at that point.
I mean, we don't have a personnel manual that deals with, you're talking about appointments where you want to have people, you're talking about volunteer positions for the most part. I mean,
No, the statement he just made is that this council can't create policy, binding policy, that covers what we've been discussing. Is that correct?
You'd have to come up with some kind of, well, you do a resolution, it's going to be only good for the year.
Well, that's a yes or no, George.
It depends on what you're trying to do.
Could we create, with resolution, policy that appointments aren't made without the majority of the body having the opportunity to have interviews with the applicants? Something to that language, just ballpark right there.
We probably created an ordinance, but again, I'm not even sure that, yeah, I'll be honest, I have to look at it, because you're not talking about, the answer, you probably could change it. I don't know that it would be something that would be appropriate.
Probably could change it. All right, well, we were asked to go to an executive on this, so I have no problem, taking this up in executive. But I just find it kind of ironic, guys, that the only reason that a couple of you guys actually got an interview for boards was because we had a policy where interviews were given out, where there really wouldn't have been interviews done at all. So just try to be mindful that prior to Dwayne and I getting, elected, the common policy was, and a former council member's words, since when do we do interviews? We've always just appointed whoever we wanted to appoint. So, that was what it was, and we progressed forward from that, okay? So,
At least we thought we did.
So just try to put some thought to that, and you can eat that thought, those thoughts until we can sit down in executive. But being somebody that worked so hard to get in here and fought to have guys like Mr. Lopez and anyone else that wanted an opportunity to sit on a board, get his name heard and get his application looked at. I looked from one end of the top of the list to the bottom of the list, and at least their name was called to see if there was interest to go forward with an interview process for those folks. And we did interview at least 2 individuals from each council member, which could add up to 10 applicants being interviewed at any given time. So, I've seen both sides of it. And the fact of the matter is that if folks don't feel that they at least have a shot at getting an interview and getting their application looked at, are they going to bother to fill out the application or show any interest whatsoever? My opinion is that just like people stop voting, they would stop putting in their application or coming to meetings and showing any kind of interest at all. That's all I had for old business. Anybody else have anything for old business? Dwayne?
No.
Jason? No. Lou? Rich?
No.
Old business is done. New business? Anyone have new business? Dwayne?
No.
Jason? No. Lou? No. Rich?
No.
New business. New business. Status of the water line hit at Mill Dam Park, Steve.
Well, Friday, they started to replace it, and the trencher broke. So it's still not fixed yet, but it will be. No cost to us.
No cost.
The municipality.
Beat me to my next question. No cost. And a timeline?
Well, we had expected to be done by tomorrow, but with that piece of equipment going down, I'm thinking probably a little bit later this week.
But by the end of the week?
Yeah.
By the weekend games?
I would hope so, yeah.
By weekend. Banner holders. There were a shortage of these banner holders for these new banners.
Yeah, actually, I was going to speak to Josh Brown about that, see how much money we have left in neighborhood preservation.
Well, are there more banners? Because I hung all the ones that we had.
No, but we have some poles a little further uptown that don't have the brackets on them.
Okay.
So there was some talk between Jan Myers and some people downtown, and an email had circulated. I don't remember who it was from, and Josh and I had some initial discussions on it, and we were talking about the money. I want to see what's left in neighborhood preservation.
Yeah, I thought there were some extra banners that were
Well, the
available.
ones
The ones
for
that the
Armed
chief
Forces
gave
Day.
me, we hung.
Right.
There were 2 boxes that you gave me, and we hung all of those, and we didn't make it that far. We made it up to the top of High Street, and we couldn't even make it to the township building.
Yeah, I think some of what Mr. DeFalco, Deputy Mayor DeFalco was talking about is we did have some, prior to this, there were more banners that would go up. So we really got to assess to see how many poles
Right.
we need and how far up High Street you want to go.
So you want to coordinate both how many banners are left
Right.
with how many banner holders that we would need. And we also discussed maybe relocating the existing banner
We have something
holders.
out of the
Make it more uniform.
way, so that's something we'll look at and I'll, report back.
Thanks. Banner holders. Just something I wanted to touch on, George can maybe chime in on this. We had a lot of schooling, so to speak, on these email things where all of us are on the same email page, and if one of us responds, we all see it. Right? That's like an illegal quorum, right? In the cyber world, right?
Yes, I have an opinion. I can provide you an opinion letter on it.
Right.
Generally speaking, my recommendation, like I would tell, I've talked to Steve about, I think I've talked to, maybe I haven't. But what I recommend is just, for example, if I were to send you all something, or told Steve to send it to himself, blind copy everybody, that way he can't create an automatic response if he needs to notify you.
But and it would be the same if a group was doing a mass email and we responded to that group, and there's more than 2 other, more than 2 council members on that group, then we would be still in that same violation, or no?
How would that happen? I mean,
Well, let's say somebody put out an open email involving a neighborhood watch,
well, it's not gonna,
and all of us council members are on it, and then you respond to it. Is that covered under, we're all now having the same topic? Because I myself didn't respond to it, because I was under the impression that that would be in violation, because then we could actually start having a conversation amongst council members
I don't think
on
we
it.
can talk about township business on that, so I doubt it on that scenario. If there's a social thing, that's not gonna create.
Well, isn't it no different than if 4 of us were together at a party somewhere, and we're having a party and socializing as whatever's going on? And then, different than we're at a party together, and now we're making decisions for the township.
Exactly.
It's based on the context of the email.
Okay, and how about mass texts?
Well, it's just like when there's a crime, going on, and I send the text out to you, so you have the alert right away. I mean, that's not a township.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm letting you know. as the
Rich and I have discussed this in the
boss.
past, where when we respond to a mass text, all of us are picking up on the same
Depends
conversation.
on what we're talking about. I mean, if we're talking about what we're gonna pay for property or something, that's township business. But if I send you a text stating there's a serious motor vehicle accident on Route 38, and, you respond something to it. I mean, most of the time you don't, it's just, okay, thanks, or whatever. We're not violating anything there.
All right, but how about if you respond that how about if it's something that then there's a direction given? So if you made a statement that such and such happened, and then one of us responded, then do this. That would qualify, right? George?
Depends on what it was.
Give me a concrete example.
I don't know, all I know is Brian Guest used to go through this with us, and Skip Real, this was like a big deal.
It is a big deal, and absolutely. But I think when you're talking about it's township business versus non-township business, I mean, certainly, as indicated, if I send an email to everyone, if I didn't blind copy the way I said, I would want to say don't respond to it.
Right.
Clarify it, because once you respond and other people start responding, then you have an open discussion, you violate the Open Public Meetings Act by doing that.
Well, and also, I know that I was pretty much schooled regularly that whenever I spoke anywhere, once I was elected, I had to make a statement that I'm speaking as a resident. So if you're on, if you're emailing back and forth and they're referring to as council member or mayor, doesn't that now elevate it to township business or not?
I'd have to see it on a case-by-case basis.
It's something to be wary of, though, right?
Absolutely.
When in doubt, don't.
Right. All right. Yeah, I've been curious on that. I've also been curious on, how is it, Rich, can we get somebody either through the IT committee or on the township to put onto all of the emails that are generated off of the township's website, or whatever, the server?
You want a disclaimer header?
The disclaimer that you have. Can that just be automatically programmed to
That can be done,
every single
yes.
person?
It can be done.
So what do we need to do?
We are currently in the
do that?
process of replacing the current email system the township has, and in doing so, those disclaimers will be present. It's already been discussed.
On all of them?
Absolutely.
That's
Yeah.
good. How about, well, on the IT committee thing, how about, as far as the committee goes, can they, or would it be, advantageous for someone on the committee to attend something like this thing here, the 4th Annual Government Technology Education Conference?
Possibly for non-technical individuals, but again, based on the current ordinance, which you brought up, requesting the qualifications beyond there, and the fact that, I am spearheading it, it's what I do. I do these things all the time in every outlet. So at the end of the day, at this current juncture, spend money to send someone to a conference to understand what IT means and how you can procure this stuff for the township is, I wouldn't say right now in the township's best interest. Perhaps again in the future, who knows who's going to be on that board? It might be feasible, but right now I would not recommend it.
Well, I mean, for the rest, I know you're, top gun on that stuff, but as far as like the rest of the guys that are on there, I mean, this thing's got language like must attend for the use of technology in the public sector, for anyone responsible for the use of technology in the public sector. I'm wondering if not for maybe someone like the chief or someone, department heads, or what exactly is the benefit of these
I'm
conferences?
that non-technical guy.
Yeah.
I think Steve is trusting myself and Mr. Fitzgerald and Alan to come up with the best qualified solution for the township.
So you don't think there's any benefit to these conferences at all?
I didn't tell you that. I said at this